Hi there, it's a new year, so time for another one on my list of favourite horror films for the last 12 months. Now firstly, I should apologise for the lack of updates this last year, but the fact is I've been working these stupid hours which hasn't left me much time to do much else, so sorry about that. However, things have changed, I've got a lot more time on my hands now, so hopefully I'll be adding some more content in the new year, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, on with the list. As always, this is somewhat arbitrary as I've not seen every horror film that's been out this year, and I'm sure many will disagree with my choices, which are based purely on how much I personally enjoyed these. So, in no particular order, the first on my list of films for 2016 is Don't Breathe. A group of small-time crooks get more than they bargained for when they try to rob the house of a blind army veteran they think is sitting on a fortune. But he's not quite the easy target they originally thought, and the group find themselves fighting for their lives. A very tense thriller with a couple of very dark twists which made this an extremely compelling, though somewhat uncomfortable film for me, and one that I would heartily recommend. Next up, The Purge election year. This third film in the series sees an American politician being targeted by her rivals on Purge night, and she ends up on the run with Sergeant Barnes from the previous film as they try to survive the night with the help of some vigilantes. Similar to Anarchy, this was still a very fun, action-packed and satisfyingly gory conclusion to the Purge series, with some interesting social commentary about the American political and class systems. From politics to punk now with my next choice, Green Room. What was sadly to be one of Anton Yelchin's final films before his untimely death sees him as the guitarist in a punk band, who end up barricading themselves in their dressing room when one of them witnesses something that they shouldn't have done at an offbeat roadhouse full of racist skinheads. Another very tense thriller which also stars Imogen Poots, which is made all the more sinister by the inclusion of Star Trek alumni Patrick Stewart, who is exceptionally chilling as the cold, calculating skinhead leader who's looking to silence them at any cost. Next up, we have some zombie film fun with The Girl with All the Gifts. A group of soldiers and scientists are forced to abandon their base and go on the run when it's overrun by zombies. Taking with them a young patient who may hold the cure to the epidemic, this was a very bleak action thriller which boasted some absolutely mental action scenes and a good supporting cast which included Glenn Close, Paddy Considine and Gemma Arterton. More zombies now, this time running amok in South Korea in the next film, Train to Busan. When a zombie virus breaks out amongst the passengers on a high-speed train, the survivors are forced to barricade themselves into the forward cars whilst the driver tries to find a safe station to disembark. Kind of what 28 Days Later might be like if John Woo directed. There's some really over-the-top action scenes and some good gory zombie violence, which is what makes this film recommended viewing. From South Korea to Victorian England now with my next choice, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Jane Austen's literary classic gets a zombie makeover in this gore-soaked reworking of her tale in which the Bennet family are martial arts experts, whilst love rivals Mr Darcy and Mr Wickham are officers in the British Army who've been tasked with putting down a zombie outbreak. This was a really fun film with a great cast which included Charles Dance, Matt Smith and Lena Headey in supporting roles. Now, last zombie film in the list, The Resort. An enterprising company takes advantage of a zombie epidemic by offering zombie safaris where the wealthy can pay to hunt the undead on a remote island. But things predictably go awry and one group has to fight their way across the island to safety when the zombies break out of their cages. This was a brilliant action-packed film which was kind of like Westworld, but with zombies instead of killer robots. It was directed by Steve Barker, who also did the first two Outpost films, and in my view was the best zombie film of the year, although it's currently only available on video on demand in the UK. The next film very nearly made the top spot in this year's list. Now, not many will have probably seen this yet, as it's only had a very limited cinema release here in the UK, and it won't be out on disc until the new year, but it's definitely one that you should check out, which is I Am Not a Serial Killer. Director Billy O'Brien's adaptation of the Dan Wells novel about a disturbed young lad who becomes intrigued by the workings of a serial killer whose victims are passing through his family's crematorium. But when he witnesses one of the killings firsthand, he realises that this is no ordinary serial killer and no one is going to believe who or what it was that he saw. This was a really tense horror thriller. Max Records is excellent as the troubled teen, although what really won me over about this film was Christopher Lloyd, who was cast against type here as the creepy old next door neighbour, and is definitely the best thing about this film. If you've only seen him in comedies, then you should really check this out. So that brings us to my choice of horror film of the year. Now this was a very, very tough decision, as it was a very close call between this and the last film on the list, but my choice for the best horror film of 2016 is... He Never Died. Former punk rocker Henry Rollins plays a socially awkward loner who gets embroiled with some low-rent mobsters. As matters between them escalate, their attempts at teaching him a lesson continually backfire in increasingly spectacular fashions. I saw this at the Mayhem Film Festival last year and was seriously blown away by it. The film was extremely compelling, as you spend the entire movie wondering just what the deal is with this guy and why he can't be stopped. The humour is as deadpan as it can get, and Rollins was just excellent in the lead, which is why this gets my vote for the best horror film of 2016. And that's it for this year's films. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think about my choices in the comment section below. A few recommendations to look out for in the new year. Devil's Candy, kind of like the Amityville Horror, but the family involved were all heavy metal headbangers. Now this wasn't a comedy, but it was a very disturbing supernatural thriller. Also Don't Kill It, which was a hilariously gory action movie about a demon hunter played by Dolph Lundgren. That's a picture that sort of paints itself. And that's about it. If you're wondering about the films Death Walks and No Reasons, both of these had their premieres earlier this year, and I actually had the dubious honour of conducting the Q&A session at the end of Death Walks, which is kind of interesting to say the least. Now, Death Walks should be out on video on demand in the new year, so keep a lookout on Netflix and Amazon Video for that one. No Reasons should be out sometime in 2017, but no date yet, so more details about that when it becomes available. But anyway, that's all for this year. Please be sure to rate, comment and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hope you all have a very happy horror-filled new year, and I'll see you all in the next video.